Friend, Shabbat Shalom again to all of you, and I thank you for the opportunity to share some words of Torah with you this evening. Bill Gothard is an evangelical Christian minister who is the founder of the Institute in Basic Life Principles. He created an intriguing list of 49 character traits that, if you develop all of them, lead to a person of good character. And if you want access to that list, send me an email and I can send you the link to his website. One of those qualities, one of those 49 characteristics, is quite relevant in making sense of our Torah reading for this Shabbat. It is number 12, which is dependability. Fulfilling, as he defines it, fulfilling what I consented to do, even if it means unexpected sacrifice. It's really like this. Fulfilling what I consented to do, even if it means unexpected sacrifice. Moses teaches us this value in our reading. At the very end of the book of Genesis, the death of Joseph is recorded, and one of the promises that he extracts from his brothers is that he does not want to be permanently buried in Egypt. He believes that the future redemption will take place, and when it happens, he wants his remains taken out of Egypt. So the Torah records, Joseph said to his brothers, "I am about to die. God will surely take notice of you and bring you up from the land to the land that he promised an oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." So Joseph made the sons of Israel swear, saying, "When God has taken notice of you, you shall carry my bones from here." Joseph dies at the age of 110 years, and he was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt. That's all we know. We jump 450 years to our portion. Moses is leading the people out of Egypt, and we read one verse. One verse. "And Moses took with him the bones of Joseph, who had exacted an oath from the children of Israel, saying, God will be sure to take notice of you. Then you shall carry up my bones from here with you." We often overlook this one verse in the story, and that is a mistake. While the Israelites were packing, preparing for the journey of liberation, collecting the precious items that they had received from the Egyptians, gathering the livestock that was in their possession, Moses needed to fulfill this 450-year-old promise. He did it on behalf of the Jewish people. He had to keep the word of the Jewish people. We don't even know how he knew of the promise. We can only speculate, but that was his focus on the eve of the Exodus. But where was Joseph's coffin? In an ancient book of rabbinic legends known as Devarim Rabbah, there is a beautiful description of Moses keeping his word to Joseph. The Midrash, the rabbinic legend, describes that Moses was looking for Joseph's bones, running around Egypt for 3 days and 3 nights. He looked in every dark corner for the bones of Joseph because the Jewish people had made a promise. And after 3 days and 3 nights, he was exhausted, whereupon a special woman, Serach, found him and informed him that she knew where the bones of Joseph could be found. This mysterious woman took him to the bank of the Nile River. She told Moses to look at the dark water of the Nile because this is where Joseph was buried. She told Moses that Pharaoh's advisors and magicians and political leaders buried Joseph's casket deep within the Nile River and attached 5,000 weights to keep him deep within the river's surface. And why did they do that? As long as Joseph's bones remained buried and hidden, the Israelite people would not be able to keep their promise and therefore could not leave. Upon hearing this, Moses became very distraught and started pacing back and forth at the river's bank. He shouted, "Joseph, Joseph, the Israelite people are ready to march towards freedom. The compassionate one has freed us from slavery, but you are holding us up." At this moment, the casket of Joseph floated to the top of the river, and Moses took Joseph's casket along with the 5,000 weights. He flung it over his shoulder and marched out of Egypt through the splitting of the sea towards freedom. Moses had kept the oath made generations before. He did it in the darkness of night without fanfare. He didn't do it to be popular. It was because this had to be done. Legend goes on to tell us even more about Moses' faithfulness, that Moses ensured that the coffin be carried right along with the Ark of the Covenant in the 40 years of wandering. Imagine the image of that. The 10 Commandments, the tablets in the Ark, but also the bones of Joseph standing besides. Now, this is only a legend from the deep recesses of the Jewish imagination, but it speaks to the essence of Judaism. Judaism, in my opinion, is not a faith tradition. It's a promise tradition. The Israelites could not go forward unless they honored the past. In Judaism, the past, present, and future are interwoven and all need to be affirmed. The connection between the generations is essential to who we are. This, to me, is what keeps us going as Jews. Our lives as Jews are about fulfilling a promise that our ancestors made thousands of years ago, a promise made for us. When Moses is about to die at the end of the book of Deuteronomy, he addresses the Jewish people and says, and I quote, "I made this covenant with its sanctions not with you alone, but both with those who are standing here with us this day before the Lord, and with those who are not with us here this day." In effect, the agreement we made with God will be fulfilled in the future by those not yet born. Now, what does this statement mean to me? My Judaism is not rooted in whether I believe in God or not. I spend no time contemplating that. It is rooted in my connection to my people and its history and its traditions. I was born into a covenant with God that I did not make. I'm a member of a people that I did not select. I inherited a tradition that I did not choose. And yet, as a Jew, I have promised that I proudly will fulfill this. I will fulfill to honor my tradition, to receive and to study the sacred texts of people written by generations before me, to feel a special sense of loyalty and solidarity with the Jewish people that is 3,500 years old, to be connected to a land which was promised to Abraham and thus promised to me, to live a Jewish life which keeps me connected to the generations before me, to make sure that my children and grandchildren grow up feeling that same way, which they never made, but still needs to be fulfilled. I am the sum total of the promises that have been made and have been made for me. I am a Jew because my great-great-great-grandparents were Jews, and they lived a Jewish life in Eastern Europe, and they expected that this tradition would continue by those who are not yet born. I am a Jew because when I sat at the Passover Seder in my grandmother's house, and I saw my grandfather leading it, and my grandmother cooking it, I was making a promise that this tradition would continue, and I didn't need to say a word. And my children are linked to that promise because they experienced me fulfilling the promise. And if I fail to keep this tradition going, I'm making my great-great-great-grandparents liars. I have let them down, and this is intolerable to me. And here's one of the things that my daughter said was her fondest memory growing up. She remembers as a child, when I was a rabbi in Florida, standing there every year as I opened the boxes that contained the lulavs and etrogs for Sukkot. You know, the palm branch, the myrtle, the willows, the citron that you put together and you wave in multiple directions. And what was the impression it made on her? That this was important to me. And she felt important by helping me. I didn't need to say anything, and she didn't need to say anything, but that was a moment when the unspoken promise was made, Daddy, I must do this with my own children. My entire rabbinical life really comes down to trying to convince people that keeping this promise is valuable, it is essential, it is holy, it is godly. That our ancestors were not fools, that they created something glorious, that they had something that was worth projecting into the future that we inherit. And just like Moses could not go forward without Joseph's bones, we cannot go forward without taking our heritage with us. And it's not easy. It's a struggle. But Judaism matters. The survival of the Jewish people matters for us in the world. I pray that is what you feel, or at least that is something you struggle with. And for those of us who converted to Judaism, you are part of this promise as well, because when you converted, your name became son or daughter of Abraham our father and Sarah our mother. Abraham and Sarah, the patriarchs of our people, that is who you are linked to. You are part of the promise in a most fundamental way, which goes back to the very beginning of our people. Thank you, Moses, for showing us the way. By bringing Joseph's casket out of Egypt, you showed us that we must be promise keepers. We are not in the world only for ourselves. We cannot be the sole definers of who we are. There are affirmations that are demanded of us, pledges that we must keep, that reaches back into history. May the example of Moses and the promise that he kept inspire us in our time and in the future times to be serious and dedicated to our sacred tradition. Amen.